Hey guys, welcome back. Now we're going to step into module 5, different ways on how you can find cash buyers. The first one I'm going to talk about is social media. So social media obviously right now is a hot thing that's going on right now. So obviously you got Instagram, Facebook, Bigger Pockets. There's so many different outlets that you can go to where you can post your deals. To me, it's super important that you at least have 4 of these platforms that you're actually using. Social media is definitely one of them because obviously that's where everything is going down these days. I would say if you're going to do that, if you're going to be using social media, post first thing in the morning. As soon as you wake up, throw you some posts out. Pick 4 good outlets. I love Bigger Pockets. I like Craigslist. A little bit of Instagram, and I know Facebook is really, really hot right now with that. So find out the guidelines on what you can and what you can't post when dealing with your property. Post is a lot of details, but me personally, I never post the address. You just want to give the base information, bedrooms, bathrooms, give a little bit of information as far as square footage and what you think the ARV is, and your contact information. You do just enough, 1 or 2 pictures, nothing too much. You should definitely drive in a lot of traffic. I think the cool thing is when dealing with social media is that less is more, all right? Just put base information, have them call you. It's almost like you're fishing with a huge net. You're gonna catch a bunch of little guppies, but you also, within that time frame, you'll catch some big fish too also. Let them call you, have your information ready. I'm gonna say this a lot when dealing in this module as far as like knowing what you need to know. Have everything in front of you. Know every nuance and detail about that house because you're gonna be explaining it to multiple people. And some of the people I do talk about, if you don't sound sure about the details of the house, they're probably gonna hang up the phone on you. All right. But the first one is social media. Really cool. Really easy. You can definitely pull a lot of buyers and a lot of interest by just being somewhat vague, but also getting enough information that people call you. That's the first one. So the next one that we're going to talk about, guys, is realtors. So it's not the easiest thing, but again, make sure you know everything about the property before you call these people. Normally, if you're calling a realtor about a buyer, is because you probably got MLS access some form of fashion, and you probably pulled comps that had a realtor that represented a buyer on a transaction or multiple transactions. The first realtor I call is always going to be the one that has a buyer that has like a bunch of transactions in that area, or have a bunch of, having multiple buyers in that area. I'm gonna call them first. I'm gonna tell them about the area. I'm gonna tell them the couple of deals that they did over there, or the last deal that they did. I'm gonna ask them like, hey, do you have a buyer right now that would be willing to purchase my house? It's in the same sub as yours, close to the same size, same year built. It looked like he may have bought it for X amount. You think he'd be willing to buy mine for around the same or whatever the price is. Talk with that agent. Let them know you're wholesaling the property. Let them know that you're wholesaling it. Don't act as a buyer, because a lot of times if they find out, they're not going to do business with you and they're not going to trust you, and I don't blame them. So you want to make sure that you're being very transparent with them. Along with that too, also, let them know to mark up the fee on top of it. Unless you're giving them a flat fee that you know they're going to be happy with. Let them know like, hey, I'm asking, for example, $80,000. I want $80,000. You can mark your fee up on top of it. Some will be cool with it if they understand it. Some you may have some issues with. But if there's a good chance if they're doing a bunch of deals in the area and they deal with investors and they buying cash, then they already know the game somewhat. So they're going to be pretty comfortable dealing with you. Talk to them about any access or however they can get in or however they can show the investor. That's a really cool way, and it's an easy way to get deals, and you can build rapport and you can get more deals if you're doing it right with them. The next one we're going to talk about, guys, is skip tracing cash buyers. This is a little similar to talking with the realtor, but now you're kind of jumping over the realtor aspect of it and calling the buyer direct. There's multiple avenues if you don't have the MLS to where you can get out there and you can skip cash buyers. PropStream, there's a couple other softwares that's out there that you can use where you can pull them. Obviously, this costs a little bit of money because it's going to be probably, I would say, between 8 to 15 cents a skip, but it's still worth it. I mean, you're probably not going to have that many. It's probably just say 50 if you went further back in time. But skip tracing, call them up, have the information in front of you, talk with them about it. Explain to them like, hey, I know she bought a property a couple blocks over from mine, or in the same area as mine. I just picked up one that I'm trying to get rid of. They should know the game. They fully vetted already. You don't really have to vet them as hard because it shows that they're actual buyers already. So definitely just talk with them about your deal. Tell them the ins and outs of it. If they have an email, shoot them an email and send them some pictures via text. Let them do their own due diligence. and follow back up with them in a couple hours. You let them know what you're gonna do. I mean, they mean business, they buyers, and you mean business too also. Hey, I'm gonna shoot you over the info on this property. What's a good time that we can sit down and talk? Or better yet, when can we sit down and meet and I can talk to you about the property and then we could go walk it? That's even better. Because now you know you can build rapport with them, you got a face-to-face with them, you can walk the house with them, and you can see if you can lock them up right there on the bed. If you're not afraid, which you shouldn't be, you should. That may be a good avenue for you guys to do. But skip tracing cash buyers is also a good thing. And again, if I have to pick 4, this is going to be one of them, if not the top one that I'm gonna do. So make sure that you do this, and then when you do it, you call them and you have your info and your information ready. Just because again, if you slip up, you don't know what you're talking about. Same thing as dealing with the agent. Same thing with dealing with these cash buyers. They're probably gonna hang up on you if you sound crazy too. All right. The next one we're gonna talk about is so old school, but it still works, and that's bandit signs. Bandit signs is, again, that's one of the original things, one of the best and simplest things that you can do. It is a little labor intensive for some people, but that's okay. If you got a property on the contract, grab you about 25 bandit signs. I love to handwrite on these. This is not a we buy house sign, so it don't have to look as professional. But I love to have a cheap house for sale. I will write that cheap house for sale, cash only, and put a phone number up there. Put my phone number. I would drop probably 20 to 25 signs around my property within just say less than a half mile around the property that I have, and get some buyers and get the phone ringing. I always say if you're getting a lot of traction, a lot of action, you should be able to sell a house off a bandit sign, but you got to put enough out. I think 20 is good for a particular property. If you have more, if your budget, if you have the budget to buy more, then definitely it's not going to hurt to drop more. Ideally though, make sure you put it out over the weekend, because there's a good chance of code and compliance. They're going to probably pull it up the same day that you drop it within hours, and it's almost a waste. So if you want to put it out, let's say a Friday evening around the house that you have, if time permits, then do it. Get out there around 5 o'clock. Wait till, I used to do it late at night. Just get out there, drop the bandit signs, and no traffic. So next thing you know, it's Saturday morning. I got them on major street corners. I got them staggered out, so maybe 2 at each corner or 3 at each corner. Major intersections, so everybody get to see it, and then you're gonna start to get the calls. You want to make sure it's in areas to where there's a lot of traffic, gas stations, four-way stop signs, things like that. Make sure that you drop it to you're going to see high traffic areas. Put it in the Home Depot. I mean, you're going to find a contractor or maybe an investor that's there. Just know it's going to get picked up probably quickly, but I have sold deals dropping bandit signs off at Home Depot or Lowe's. You got to think about it. You got investors, you got contractors, and you got different aspects of real estate that's going at Home Depot all the time. I was just there today, so you can sell houses off dropping in places like that. But definitely, same way I tell you on other things when acquiring properties, to sell properties, you definitely think outside the box with it. But it's an old school way, and it's still a cool way to do. Next one, hedge funds and institutional buyers. It can be a little tricky, but they definitely pay more. The way that I normally get my foot in the door with dealing with the hedge fund is if I'm pulling comps and I see the same company, buying a property over and over again in the same pocket, and I'll call the agent who represents them. If I can't get the agent, then I'm gonna try to skip trace them. But when you're dealing with a hedge fund or institutional buyer, a good amount of them now, they want to do an option period. You have some that don't, but you also have a good amount that do. And that's fine. If you have enough time on your inspection period or your option period, or you don't have one, then it's nothing wrong with giving it to a hedge fund for 4 or 5 days for them to do their own due diligence on it. Get their buying criteria. That's so important. Don't waste your time. You don't want to waste your time. Some of them 83 builds in certain zip codes, or 80s builds, or 90s builds in certain zip codes, and they only want brick homes with 2 bathrooms. Find out their buying box. If I'm talking with the agent that represent them, I have them send an email. If I'm talking with the asset manager from one of them, I also do the same things hey, great talking to you. Can you do me a favor and send me an email on your buying criteria, just because of the fact I don't want to waste your time and call you and text you and email you on deals that don't make sense for you guys. I want to make sure that I'm actually giving you something that is going to actually pique your interest. So make sure that you do that. But hedge funds are really cool. They pay more. It could be a little bit nerve-wracking, especially with it being on the option period or inspection period, knowing that they can possibly drop it. But if you can find out their buying box and almost get a niche and sell to them, you can make a lot more money than selling to a normal investor. So definitely, if you see a hedge fund, Google some names. or start to look up on when you pull in comps and you've seen the same company. Find out do some research about the company and find out what it is. But it's an awesome tool. The next one that we're going to talk about, guys, is networking events and investment clubs. You should join some. If you're trying to be a real player in this game, please join some investment clubs and network. Like, your network is going to be your net worth, or however the saying goes. Make sure you do it. You want to talk to many people as possible. And this is old school. Like, you're not going to make a lot of money being sitting behind a computer. You're just not. So you're going to have to get out into the streets, talk with people, go to these investment groups. They only last an hour. It's not hard. There's no reason to be an introvert or get nervous. I'm an introvert by nature, but if I need to sell a property, I'm gonna talk to you. And that's all you have to do. Just go up to them, introduce yourself, ask them what they do, tell them about your deal. If you're still not sure about your deal, print it out, make you like a small flyer and take it with you. Talk to the head of the investment group. Ask them, can you pitch your deal? If you want to get up in front of everybody and they allow that, I know plenty of investment groups that do, and you can talk about your deal and see if you get some buyers there. But you networking, very old school, it still work. The more people that you get out there and you meet and you know, the more chances of you being able to sell your deal, and the more easy it becomes to be able to sell your deal. And that's the whole thing. Not about a big buyers list. It's about having some good, solid core people that you can sell your deals to. And networking is going to help you probably more than anything else. I know I talked about skip tracing being one of my top ones, but this is number 2. So you want to make sure that you get out there and network. So old school, so easy, and it don't cost money most of the time anyway. The next one that we're going to talk about is the My RE360 deal page. You can post deals, you can buy deals, you can network with other people on the website. So make sure, if you guys are looking, this is one of the avenues that you guys can use to be able to post online. Use it. Use it like you're using Instagram, use it like you're using Facebook, Bigger Pockets, throw that in too also. Post your deals, find buyers. It's a tool that you should be using as part of social media too also. Don't be afraid to use it. Again, the more you post online, again, these are the things that you should be doing during the day. Add that with your top 3 ones that you prefer. Facebook, my RE360 deal page, Bigger Pockets. You can post just like that. Like I say, post on every single one, every single day, until you get some traction and you sell. But this is definitely an avenue that should be no different from you jumping on Facebook or you jumping on Instagram or any other platform. Definitely use it. Super old school, but it still works, is the newspaper magazine ads. I know a lot of people on the internet, they buy houses off the internet, or they look at the news online, or whatever it is normally online. Nobody really reads a newspaper anymore. But it is a small amount of people that's out there that'll buy your house off a newspaper. And they're going to be an old school buyer, I guarantee you. There's a good chance they already know what they're doing, or they have done it in the past before. But it still works. There's nothing wrong with placing a property, just a little small, couple words about a property that you have for sale. You'll be surprised. You'll be really surprised posting in the newspaper. It helps, and the cool thing is, not a lot of people do it anymore. So it'd be more helpful for you because your deal will stick out. I have sold deals, placing them in the newspaper. It's been a while, honestly, but I have done it before in the past. And it's an avenue that you shouldn't overlook. It's not in my top 5, but it could be a niche, just how your verbiage that you use on it. It could be a niche of something that can be great for you. But definitely don't overlook it. It can be just as strong as social media if you know how to work it right. But definitely take the time, think about it. Going through all these that I went over, I'm gonna go back to it again. Make sure you understand what you're selling. Don't waste anybody's time if you don't feel you had a full grasp on it. You understand the value, understand the rehabs. You want your name to be as rock solid as possible. And take 4 of these. Just take 4, at least 4 that I gave you, and use them. Social media. If you want to use a newspaper, great. Realtors are awesome. Skip tracing is to me, I love that. And networking. Get out there. Understand the more money you make is going to be because you're not behind a computer. So understand that you make way more money being out in the streets, connecting with people. If you got to be in front of the computer, set yourself a time schedule. Say from 9 to 11, I'm gonna be posting all my deals online. After that, I'm in the streets. Definitely, it takes some structure, but it can definitely help you guys be able to sell your deals way easier once you structure your day around your houses and make sure that you have a game plan of what you're going to do and how you're going to do it. And I guarantee you, make your deal flow way easier. And last but not least, how to handle your buyers list. I'm old school. So I like to actually call and text when I have a deal. If you don't have time to answer my texts and my phone calls, I'm probably not going to sell you a bunch of houses anyway. I know some people are very, techie. They want to email, which is fine. You definitely want to have an email list, get everybody email and place them on the list. But I have learned just from my experience, most of my deals don't go past 3 people. That's just because of the fact of I vetted them, which you should do with your buyers list. Ask them their buy box and their criteria. And if you shaky about anybody, ask them for proof of funds. Always do that, because it's going to weed out people. If they feel uncomfortable giving you proof of funds or they give you pushback, you can't buy a house from an agent. You normally can't buy a house anyway if you don't show proof of funds or pre-approval. So it's no different. If you feel shaky about them, ask them for it. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, hey, Mr. Joe, I can tell you're interested and I really want to sell you this house. You mind send me over a proof of funds? If he's a real player, he can appreciate it and accept it. But definitely vet the people out, because they're going to vet you out. So vet them out, build you a solid list, stay in communication with these people. If you feel like they're solid, get feedback about your houses, good, bad, and indifferent. Don't be afraid for somebody to tell you your deal is trash, because you're going to put out trash deals eventually. I have done it before too also, and sometimes it takes a little bit of having a couple people tell you what's wrong with the deal and how you looked at it the wrong way. It's not about just the deal, but it's also about helping you grow. So next time you come across a similar deal, you can take the feedback that you got and use it. And you can either pass on or you can adjust your numbers and buy it right for you to be able to sell it. But I think that's an avenue that you should continue to do, is always ask for feedback from you guys. Ask them for it. If they can't give you feedback, they can't answer your call, they can't answer your text, the best thing you can do is remove them from your buyers list. You want to stay continuously to trim your fat. Trim the fat. You don't need 5,000 people on your buyers list. If you do, great, but just get you a core good 20 or 30 that buy, and you want to continue to grow from there. Obviously, people drop off, people join, people drop off, people join, but you want to at least keep a good solid amount of people that's going to give you good feedback, going to give you honest feedback, and most importantly, that can put up a deposit to buy your house. So the more you stick with that with your buyers, the more you communicate with them, the more you find out what they're looking for, the easier it will be for you to be able to sell your houses. Again, it's pointless for you to get under contract with the seller, do all your due diligence, do everything that you need to do, and you don't have any vetted buyers that you're in constant communication with, that you could sell it to. It's going to be completely pointless. So make sure that you do that. Okay, team, so now we're at the end of Module 5. I know I touched a lot of different ways and avenues that you can buy houses. Again, I'm gonna say it again, just pick 4. You don't have to overwhelm yourself. If you can do all 4, if you can do all that I named, then great, it's perfect. But just take 4, get really, really, really good at it, and structure your day around doing that. And even if you don't have a house, that don't mean you can't call and skip trace buyers. That don't mean you can't drop bandit signs. That don't mean you can't call agents. You can still do it, just to build up your buyers list, and then it's not going to hurt. And so when you do get a house, there's a good chance it'll go even faster. You may not have to do it, but definitely take some time. I hope you had a pen and a pad while you was going through this, but pick a couple out that you really like and that you can use, and start to try to perfect it. Start to do it first, make some mistakes, and then once you start to understand it, refine it, and perfect it. And that's all to it. I'll catch you guys in the next module.